The desert was a furnace without mercy. For 4 scorching days, 8-year-old Rosie had carried, dragged, and half-supported her 5-year-old brother Tommy across an endless sea of burning sand. Their lips had split and bled. Their tongues felt like leather. The last drop of water had disappeared the day before. The empty canteen lay somewhere behind them, already half-buried by the wind. Rosie dropped to her knees beside a black, sun-cracked boulder. Tommy's head lolled against her shoulder, his breathing shallow and uneven. She lowered him carefully to the ground as though he were made of glass. "I'm sorry, Tommy," she whispered, voice cracked and dry. "I promised Mama." The memory clawed at her, the wagon wheel snapping, the sickening lurch, the long fall into the crevasse. The silence afterward. Mama and Papa hadn't moved. Rosie and Tommy had crawled out alone, bruised, bleeding, clutching one battered canteen between them. Now even that was gone. Tommy's chest rose, fell, rose, and then, for one terrible heartbeat, stopped. Rosie's scream was little more than a rasp. She shook him. "Tommy. Please." A shadow fell across them. She looked up, squinting against the glare. A lone rider sat silhouetted against the shimmering horizon, horse standing still as stone. The men swung down slowly. Wide-brimmed hat. Dust-colored shirt. Quiet authority in every movement. "Easy, little one," he said, voice low and steady. "I'm not here to hurt you." Rosie tried to shield Tommy's body with her own, but her arms shook too badly. The stranger knelt several feet away. "Name's Jake. Your brother needs water, right now, or he won't make another hour." He reached into his saddlebag without hurry and held up a full canteen. Rosie stared at it like it was a mirage. Then Tommy gave a tiny, choking gasp. That sound shattered the last of her resistance. She nodded once. Jake moved quickly but gently, cradling Tommy's head, letting the smallest trickle of water wet his cracked lips. After agonizing seconds, Tommy coughed, sputtered, swallowed. His eyelids fluttered. Rosie broke then, great, silent sobs shaking her whole body. "I tried," she cried. "I tried so hard to keep my promise to Mama." Jake's voice was soft. "You did more than most grown men could have done. Now let me help you both." He lifted Tommy like he weighed nothing and helped Rosie onto the horse. She cradled her brother against her chest as they started moving. The desert slowly gave way to rolling grassland. Then, beyond a final rise, a log ranch house appeared, wide porch, green pastures, smoke curling from the chimney. A woman in a blue dress ran down the steps, hands pressed to her mouth. "Jake, oh Lord, what VE you brought home." "This is Julie, my wife," Jake said as he lifted Rosie down. "These are Rosie and Tommy." Julie didn't hesitate. She took Tommy from Jake's arms with practiced gentleness, already checking his pulse, murmuring soft words. Inside, the house smelled of bread and wood smoke and safety. Rosie ate slowly, afraid the food might disappear. Tommy, propped on pillows, managed a few spoonfuls of broth before drifting into exhausted sleep. Later, Julie showed them upstairs. 2 small beds waited in a room that smelled faintly of dust and old lavender. Toys sat neatly on a shelf. A child's drawing of a family hung on the wall, the name Michael printed beneath it in wobbly letters. Julie's voice cracked when she spoke. "This was our son's room. He passed last winter. Fever took him quick." Rosie looked at the empty beds, then at Julie's trembling hands. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Julie knelt and took both children's hands. "Maybe you two were sent here for more than just saving." The days blurred into gentle routine. Chickens to feed. Eggs to gather. Stories by the fire. Julie braiding Rosie's hair. Jake teaching Tommy how to hold a currycomb without spooking the horses. Love crept in quietly, the way dawn comes after the longest night. 3 months later, pancakes sizzled on the griddle every morning. Tommy called Jake Papa without thinking. Rosie slipped once and called Julie Mama, then froze, only to find Julie crying happy tears and hugging her tighter. They asked to stay forever. Jake and Julie cried harder than the children did. The adoption hearing should have been simple. It wasn't. A tall, hard-eyed man rode up one afternoon, Marcus Williamson, Rosie and Tommy's uncle, their father's older brother. He carried papers. He carried threats. He carried greed. He wanted the children because they came with land, rich river bottom acres their parents had claimed. Once custody was his, he planned to sell everything and dump the children at the nearest orphanage. The town rallied. Teachers testified. The doctor spoke of miracles. Neighbors described laughter returning to the Harrison ranch. Then Rosie took the stand. She stood very straight, small hands clenched at her sides. "Uncle Marcus doesn't want us," she said clearly. "He wants the land. I heard him tell his men. After he sells it, he'll get rid of us." The courtroom went deathly still. Marcus's face flushed crimson. His lawyer hissed at him to stay quiet. Too late. Judge Harlan, stern, gray-haired, famous for following the law to the letter, looked straight at Marcus. "Is the child's statement true?" Marcus blustered. His lawyer tried to object. The judge raised one hand. "Custody," he said at last, "is awarded to Jake and Julie Harrison. The best interest of these children is served here. Period." The town cheered so loudly the windows rattled. Marcus stormed out swearing appeals. 3 days after the adoption papers were signed, he returned, with hired men and ropes. They never reached the porch. Rosie rang the dinner bell like a war tocsin. Half the county came riding. Shotguns. Rifles. Pitchforks. Mrs. Patterson arrived with her late husband's old hunting piece across her lap. Sheriff Williams placed Marcus under arrest for attempted kidnapping. The forged land documents he'd been hiding were discovered soon after. He wouldn't see the outside of a cell for many years. 1 year later, the Harrison ranch was louder, brighter, fuller. Julie's belly grew round with new life. Rosie and Tommy no longer worried about being replaced. They understood now, love isn't measured. It multiplies. On quiet evenings Jake still told stories of brave children who crossed deserts and found their way home, not to a place, but to people. And every night, when the lamps were turned low, 4 small hands reached for the quilts and 5 hearts beat in the same peaceful rhythm beneath one roof. The desert lay far behind them now. But the promise Rosie had whispered into the sand so long ago had finally been kept, not by her alone, but by love, stubborn and patient and strong enough to cross any wilderness. And in the Harrison house, no child would ever walk alone again.